Final hour overdrive continues. Brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Luke Willson and Al's brother later in the hour. Football picks for tomorrow. Our best bet still to come. Leafs Panthers tonight. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jason Strudwick, and Darren Dreger coming up here in a moment. As you know, he was reporting last night, we could maybe some coaching concerns around the league in Detroit. They better get going there. Or Derek Lalonde could be in trouble. Trade possible. Chris Kreider speaking today in New York. And
what did he have to say? I'm always curious.
My read on very hockey guy answers. No one's happy around here. We're not going to let the white noise get to it. That was kind of my interpretation.
The white noise is GM created it.
Well, exactly. But he's going to try to. I think he kind of fell on the sword for the organization, saying we're not happy. We got to be better. We're going to keep plugging along. He's got a limited no trade. There's only so much you can control if you're Chris Kreider.
That's what was so dumb about the comments. Like, oh, these guys are available. Really? Are they?
Yeah,
they control where they're going.
Exactly. How many teams are even on their list? And a lot of times, players and agents know who's likely to trade for a guy, and they'll put them on the list, knowing that it's going to block any deal anyway. No rebuilding team's going to pick up Chris Kreider.
Sure.
So you why would you put a team like that on his list? They're not going to acquire him. So there's even more control there because you've probably whittled down the list to the teams that might actually be interested in Kreider. But we'll see what Dregs can tell us about that. And again, Auston Matthews not playing tonight, but seems very likely he'll go Saturday. And it speaks to how well the Leafs have been playing and how many points they've put in the bank where there's really no concern about whether he plays tonight or not. Be nice if he played, but if he doesn't and he's not, so be it. You move on. You're 7-1 without the guy. At some point you're going to feel his absence, but if they were 1-7, he's playing tonight, I think, or it's more likely he's playing.
Yeah. Regardless of what happens tonight, Hazy, wouldn't you think that, like, even if there's some kind of optional tomorrow, he would need to be on the ice to be playing on the weekend?
According to him.
Yeah.
If it's about his legs and his lungs and all that, yeah, even if it's a day off in South Beach, he better find some ice.
Because their next game is what, Saturday night?
Saturday in Tampa.
That is typically, tonight is a big game if you want to talk about activities and being in a good mood. And absolutely, you would call it, Hazy, blowing off some steam.
Oh, yeah.
You get down there and win 4-1 with not a game until Friday. You're talking about a massive night in the town, teeing it up tomorrow, taking it deep back-to-back. It's a great possibility.
Yeah, it's a great day because they don't play till Saturday, right? So
right.
They have 2 days. So tomorrow would be a day off. And, I always love going down to the beach because you're coming from wherever, Chicago,
what
Edmonton,
wherever
it is.
What would you do at the beach, Strud?
I'd find the gym. Just a little bit of workout.
Stay loud, stay proud.
Stay proud at South Beach.
No, but we'd go fishing or play volleyball on the beach. I love the beach. I love it, right? And golfing. We'd golfed a bit, but I love the beach. And sometimes you had to burn it out a bit because tonight it's a pretty green light. Big green light if you win.
Especially night before Thanksgiving down there.
Oh, man.
You get a win, U.S. Thanksgiving. And the best thing is, too, man, no one's golfing tomorrow down there. Everyone's doing family stuff.
No, you're sadly mistaken. Do you know how many guys get home and they're like, hey, Pops, you want to tee it tomorrow? We'll do it early. They're teeing it.
You're right. First thing in the morning, the sheet is a lot.
First thing in the morning, we'll be home and everyone won't miss us. We won't miss anything. There's a lot of families that'll be teeing. There's a lot of dad-son combos. Maybe dad's lying, saying they're taking the son and the son doesn't show up and he's just doing it with his regular daily group. But guys are teeing it. Guys are teeing it in the States. I would say it's a massive day on the tee sheet.
See, it's surprising you say that. I figured it'd be more of a mandatory. You got to stay home. You got to prep. We're heading over to here. We got to be there at noon because it's like a daytime thing. U.S. Thanksgiving.
It is.
Oh, it's a full house gathering.
Yes, exactly.
But the meal's more in the afternoon. It's not like a 6 or 7. It's more like an afternoon grazing.
Yes. Listen, I'm a proponent of golfing. The idea that you have that option, I'm so jealous. The idea of being able to play golf in the morning, get home, throw on the Lions game, have a turkey, in the oven.
Delete beers.
Setup. Oh, just deleting them with a tee time on the Friday morning, ready to rock. You know what I mean? Because it's an early shutdown tomorrow too, right?
Oh, I would say, you know what? Wait till everyone passes out on the couch, and I'll see you on the tee at 4:15 as well.
Play at 36.
Double whammy. Double whammy.
A family man. You play 7 a.m., 4:30. Although the sun's going down, right? It's probably only a
you
9
won't
and
have
dime.
time. You won't have time.
That might be a bit much, but yeah, I mean that's what's on the line for the Leafs tonight. Get yourself a win. And what would be the reaction of Matthews? Driving the party tonight. Are you allowed to do that if you've been injured? Like, what are the rules? Where
you kind of got to sit on the sidelines a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you could, to use the expression, take a peek. You want to see what's up. You're in, you're looking around. Like,
you can definitely arrange some things. Like, you can have limos set up.
Who's going to question him, too, of all people?
No one.
But you still, because it's a team thing. I think that's what I loved about it. Everybody would go, right? You at least all go for dinner. Then some guys would carry on later than others. But it's about all being together and hanging out and doing. The team might even arrange a dinner, right? Like and then you take off after. And
I'll bet you they have a reservation somewhere at like 10:30 in Miami tonight. Post game, you set up shop, absolutely. And that off ramp might be like 3-4 in the morning. It could be a big one tonight. Leafs, Panthers, bunch of games in the NHL. The whole league is off tomorrow, and then back at it on Friday. Here's Darren Dreger, our TSN Hockey Insider, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. So no Matthews tonight. Is it safe to say Saturday night it's go time? I mean, he's down there. He's on the trip. Would it be shocking if he didn't play on Saturday? How would you describe that?
Yeah, I wouldn't say shocking, Brian, but I'd be surprised for sure. And, I think if it were entirely up to Auston, he likely would have played tonight. But they just feel that the focus has to be on May and June and not in November or even the start of December, if that's the case. But I think it'd be very, very surprising if he wasn't in the lineup on Saturday. But they managed this thing correctly. I would say through the process, even though it's been mysterious, I mean, Matthews has talked a couple of times, most recently after practice. But the indication I've been given is that what he was dealing with wasn't getting worse. They just focused on making sure it's getting better and is as close to 100% as he's going to be. And only Auston Matthews knows what he feels like at this point. But let's see how the rest of the week goes. He's likely going to skate at least one more time, and then you get into Saturday. But all indications are he should be good to go.
So, Darren, will it be like business as usual? I know I joked the other night on the panel that the Kawhi Leonard scenario. There's going to be none of that. As soon as he puts his gear on, it's like full steam ahead, like go time.
That would be the hope. Well, I mean, that's the expectation, and that's why Matthews and the entire organization have invested as much time in correcting this issue. And again, I use the term settle down because that's what their plan was initially a few weeks back when he didn't play in the Tuesday and then didn't play on in the Friday Hall of Fame game or the Saturday against Montreal. And at that point, I think they felt like, with a little bit of rest, that he'd be okay. So, the hope is that it's behind him. It's not going to continue to linger or nag him. But, I think we're all going to be a little skeptical. Every time he takes a day off for a maintenance day, people are going to ask those type of questions. But again, that's the investment they've made to this point, is to get it behind them, and that's what they're hoping and expect will be the case.
The team has found their groove with him out of the lineup, not because he's out of the lineup, but with him out of the lineup. So do you expect maybe a adjustment period for him and the team when he comes back in?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, Struddy, for sure. And I know you guys have talked about it on the show this week. Just with the success of Marner and Tavares, does it make any sense at all to reunite Matthews with Marner and Matthew Nyes, who's eligible to also come back on Saturday? And it feels like the answer to that is an obvious no. And, the Toronto Maple Leafs are a much better team, no different than the Edmonton Oilers, when you can spread around that high-octane offense. You can't, cover everybody. I more than 5-on-5, I want to see what that power play looks like, because that power play has been dominant. And, we're asked on every time we do a regional game and the Maple Leafs are winning, they're finding ways to win hockey games. We're asked, well, how is this possible? Auston Matthews. And it just feels like the group has collectively bought into what Berube has been preaching since the moment he got the job, as head coach of the Maple Leafs. And I don't think that's going to change much when Matthews comes back into the mix.
Just to clarify, were you saying Nye's unlikely to play Saturday, Dregs? Is that your read on it?
No, that's when he's eligible, right?
Okay, he's eligible. Okay,
yeah.
I couldn't understand it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you think he will play Saturday? And furthermore, Domi, Camp, like, what are you hearing on those guys?
Yeah, well, Domi's a bit behind here, and whatever he was dealing with, I mean, it kind of gives you a look into the life and world of Max Domi as an NHL player, because we knew that there was something going on there, right? It seemed obvious at times. But he refused to sit. He'd take a skate off here or there, but he wouldn't pull himself out of the mix. And I think essentially the team stepped in and said, okay, it's time. And he hasn't skated a whole bunch. So he might take a little bit longer. But, the good news is that Matthew Nyes is back into the fold. And the expectation is that he should be ready to go on Saturday. But I suppose no different than Matthews. He's such an important piece. If he doesn't feel close to 100%, then give him an extra game and see what happens.
Dregs, what's the Minten approach? Is it going to be Detroit where it's like you got to go back down and marinate? Because it hasn't been a whole lot. He's had his first goal, but I just kind of like what he's bringing to the table. What do you think the plan is with him?
Yeah, to be patient, that's why we joked again a little bit after the first game with Gerbenkin and Fraser Minten. And Fraser Minten scores his first NHL regular season goal. And, the feedback around Leafs Nation was, oh, geez, these young guys, we can see the next wave. It's coming. Everybody was like hot and bothered how excited they were. And, everybody, of course, was pleased with the way they played in game one. But what I was told is, okay, pump the brakes here a little bit. Let's just let these guys kind of prove themselves for a stretch of games at the NHL level. They have real high hopes in both those guys. I was going to say especially in Fraser Minten, but that'd be unfair to Nikita Gerbenkin. Again, they think that they're going to be really good Toronto Maple Leaf players for a while. But Brad Treliving also acknowledged when he called them up that this was ahead of schedule. So they don't see any harm in sending these guys back. I'm not saying imminently that's the plan, but as you get healthy, they're not going to have a choice. They're going to have too many bodies at the NHL level. But they don't see any harm in rewarding these young players when they deserve it, and the need is there so they can showcase and prove that they're ready to be full-time NHL players. But playing the American League down the road for the Marlies, that's going to help them developmentally as well.
Dregs, talk me through how it looks like the Columbus is poised to trade away a young, high-picked defenseman, and then what that might look like and where he could end up going.
Yeah, it's a curious one because you're right. Everybody looks at the birth certificate and says, wow, for as high as they drafted David Jiricek, does it make sense? And I guess from a hockey standpoint, Don Well and that group they mustn't see the upside, or they must see the need or whatever they're going to collect in return as being of greater value to the organization moving forward. And then you've got some pressure from the player, right? I think he feels that he's ready to contribute and probably feels like he's being held back a little bit. There's been a lot of speculation as to the teams that are mostly interested. Chris Johnson talked about it on Tuesday, and he looked at the Pittsburgh Penguins. I mean, Kyle Dubas is trying to get some tidy work done. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on Philip Tomasino, who comes out of Nashville, but he's going to get a bigger opportunity with the Pittsburgh Penguins. He's a skilled forward, and that's the type of player that Kyle is trying to collect here, is guys that just haven't yet proven their NHL worthiness, but they feel in Pittsburgh that they are worthy. And I think that that's why he would have the name of Jiricek circled. And I think that there are other clubs, of course. I think I read that the offers are somewhere in the 6 to 8 range. But, excuse me, based on that, Waddell, as a veteran general manager, isn't just going to strike because of the interest level. Why not let it percolate here a little bit more, right? You're going into U.S. Thanksgiving, not a lot of activity. Guys are spending time with their families. So let them kind of think about it and stew on it for an extra couple of days, and maybe the return goes a little bit higher. So I think that's what Don Waddell is thinking about. But when I checked on Tuesday, the sense was that a deal was imminent. They just didn't know to where.
with Darren Dreger, a TSN Hockey Insider. You were reporting last night that Detroit, the Red Wings, are not in a position they want to be in. They're 9-11-1, I believe, or 9-10-2 at this point. And Derek Lalonde, head coach, last year of his deal, it's kind of put up or shut up time for him and the organization. Are they alone in that thinking? In terms of teams that are in that middle ground on the outside looking in, and the feel like, as I look at Nashville, it's so bad we don't even talk about them anymore. We did 2 weeks ago endlessly. They just keep losing.
Yeah.
It feels, I guess, like that breaking point, the U.S. Thanksgiving thing, actually does mean something in the league in terms of you proving who you are.
Sure it does, Brian. And it's hard to qualify. Does it mean more to Detroit to stay in the mix than it does Nashville? I mean, Barry Trotz, he swung for the fence and bringing in the unrestricted free agent players that he did, and it was a miscalculation. Maybe based on the player that they were bringing in, how they fit into the system that's been applied by Andrew Burnett, and just how they'd impact the overall roster. I mean, it's been disastrous in Nashville. People are wondering out loud whether or not, if there's a coaching change, and I say a big if, because I know Barry doesn't want to do that. Is it possible that he could slide back onto the bench? And I don't get the sense that he wants to do that for a myriad of reasons, family included. He's got some flexibility and mobility to manage some of the things that he has to manage. In Detroit, that team has been turning the corner for close to a decade. And not making the playoffs last year broke the hearts of Red Wings fans. They had some key players who moved on. Then they got caught up in the Raymond and the Sider contract negotiations and had to invest deeply and weren't able to plug all the holes that they felt like they still need to plug. So when you look at that team, at best, I think they're okay. I think we can all identify what their glaring needs are. And one thing we know of Steve Yzerman, guys, history shows us, he's an incredibly loyal general manager, right? I mean, really, he's only had one coach since being back in Detroit in 6 years, and that's the guy he is now, and Derek Lalonde. He inherited Jeff Blashill. He doesn't want to replace the coach. He doesn't. This is a crucial homestand. If they go 1-3 or 0-3, he might not have a choice. And then it gets him more interesting because, yes, there's guys out there, history with Todd McClellan, of course. What about Jay Woodcroft? Some Detroit history there, too. But messaging that I've been given is if they decide to make that change through absolute necessity to compete and stay in the mix, they might just try and keep their powder dry and stay with someone internal like Bobby Bugner, Verotti's there, and then see if there's like a A-grade coach, whatever that A-grade coach is, maybe like a Mike Sullivan pops into the market, in the offseason. Maybe you take a swing at somebody like that. I mean, again, speculatively speaking, there are many who think that there was at least inquiries around Jim Montgomery before he went to St. Louis.
With Darren Dreger, so the Montreal Canadiens not at the same position in terms of the rebuild and turning the corner as a team like Detroit. But we were talking about this last hour. They lost again last night. Their record through 21 games is worse than it was a year ago, worse than it was a year before that. So if they're going backwards, how do they explain that to the fans? How does everyone survive, and how do you keep saying, hey, it's all good, we're rebuilding, especially in that market? I don't see it going over well. No,
and look, I know that management and ownership expected that the temperature in the market would elevate significantly this season. And they were prepared for that. They didn't expect that they would be a playoff team, but they felt like they had enough based on another year of development, the experience that they have in the lineup, health, among other things, getting Kirby Dach into the mix, some other pieces, that they would be real competitive and they'd keep it interesting. They could not have predicted that things would go so wildly inconsistent like they have this year. And really, it has been the top-end guys that haven't delivered. Their bottom six, for the most part, give you what they give you. Curious, and I saw the segment with Marty Biron yesterday. I don't know if you guys caught it or not, but he was talking about Juraj Slafkovsky, on the fourth line, and Kirby Dach on the fourth line. And, identified that when Slafkovsky was productive at the start of the year, it was because he was with Suzuki and Caulfield. So is this Marty St. Louis just running out of answers with Slafkovsky? Is this a tough love approach? Is this in the best interest of the Montreal Canadiens? So all the questions I've just asked, that's a clear indication of how things are heating up around the coach and around the organization. But I'll tell you, I mean, all of those guys, managers especially in Montreal, they were looking at 25-26 as being the year where they had to challenge, if not lock down a playoff spot. So maybe they have time left this year.
Dregs, Ryan Huska has done an amazing job with the Calgary Flames. I didn't think anyone expected him to be, at or near the top of the Pacific Division. No. So has that changed Craig Conroy's vision short term for this group?
Well, it's a good question, Struddy, and I would say it probably hasn't. I don't get the sense, and actually Connie is going to be on our podcast tomorrow, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. Like I think that they have a pretty good idea of where they are. And where they are is higher than they expected. Of course it is. Nobody predicted that the Calgary Flames past the 20-game mark of the regular season were going to be a top-plus team in the National
Probably
Hockey.
Similar to Philly last year, Darren.
Yeah, exactly right. And look at the sweet spot here. I think the big question mark, among other things, but the biggest one was the goaltending. Dustin Wolf ready to transport his American League game, which was stellar, to the National Hockey League level. And if not, is Dan Vladar capable of shouldering the load? Well, goaltending has been one of the strengths in Calgary, and that has taken pressure off some of the other aspects of their game. But I think Ryan Huska and the coaching staff have done a brilliant job there working with what they have. But to answer your question, Scotty, I think that Craig Conroy and that group know where they're at. Yeah, if there's an affordable opportunity to add a little bit more depth, or if there's a surprise piece that maybe you can plug in that doesn't cost you a big chunk of the future, why wouldn't you do that? To give that group some help and to give the fan base a little bit more insurance as you creep closer to the trade deadline.
All right, Dregs, we'll leave it there. We'll do it again soon. Thank you for this.
Okay, guys, have a good one.
Darren Dreger, TSN Hockey Insider, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Flames, Philly. That Philly comparison's a good one in November. It's not so good in April if the wheels fall off.
Well, you remember how I think Philly was kind of at the top of the Metro at some point last year, or kind of near it, and they fell off a cliff in January.
Completely. Them and Detroit. Philly and Detroit were in a playoff spot in the end of March.
Then they choked it away.
Fell apart.
Does Huska get any consideration for Coach of the Year?
Right now he would. Right now he absolutely
How can't
should.
he?
How
can he?
Has to.
To me, he's the perfect guy for that team. He understands. He's worked his way up from junior to AHL assistant coach. He understands developing young players. I think he should get some serious.
We had the three guys the other day. It was O'Neill, Huska.
We talked about Keefe. We talked John Hines in Minnesota.
Hines in Minnesota.
Hines in Minnesota.
There's your kind of four-pack of where that's leaning.
Yeah.
He deserves it, man. All those guys deserve it. But
they're all doing well. Rod Brindamore's doing a great job again, like he always does.
Yeah, but they're always kind of around, they're always a pretty good team. I thought they'd take a step back, but Minnesota and Calgary, I didn't see this happening for either group.
I agree. Those are the two biggest surprises, I think, in the league right now. Kind of like the surprising turnaround of Hayes and Bro, right? Considering what happened in the past and where we currently stand. +3 going into U.S. Thanksgiving. We have 4 games in the next 48 hours. This is a pendulum swing. We can bury you guys.
Dude, it's the whole year, man.
Boy.
This is it, man.
It's the whole year.
I agree. The next four games, and certainly this weekend, this is it. You guys better figure it out.
Dude, I totally agree, man. If we don't do it, we're losers, and we lose to 2 Muppets who live in their parents' basement.
Bad hat. It's bad hats.
Dude.
The hat's going on, Struddy. You better believe it for the rest of the hour.
No way, dude. No way. Come back, go to commercial, and I'll play a song for you, Struddy, that dictates what these guys are.
Okay.
Simon Cowell
is going to release to the world his new talent, his newfound talent. We got a world premiere of a new song. Luke Willson coming up. Al's brother coming up. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. Hayes and Bro +3 going into a big week, a massive week in the NFL. We're about football. We're about analysis. Always apparently about talent development in American Idol, because you're playing the role of Simon Cowell here, and your priorities, I think, are completely out of whack. Now, you've been teasing some song you want to play. Do we have Luke on the line? We should probably have Luke in here to listen to this.
He's going to come on in parts, and I just want to play you this little guitar acoustic solo that means a lot to me. And it says a lot about Hayes and Bro. JP, I'll just get to it and play this beautiful song and enjoy.
That's enough. Hayes is a fraud. AB is a scumbag. Those are the lyrics.
And it's a beautiful song. Like, I would sit by a campfire and hit play on that every night.
I found a little pitching.
I'll be honest.
I thought he was pitching,
guys. That was one of the greatest songs I've ever heard. That was one of the greatest songs I've ever heard.
I know, Partsy. And when we come out with the hoodie, these guys have no answer to the hoodie. I don't even care, because if we have a sales race of who sells more hoodies, ours versus theirs, we crush them. Crush.
Inaccurate. But you're about fashion. We're about football. That's fine. You worry about fashion and how you look and warm-ups and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, hey, let me ask my Partsy. Partsy, do you agree that this upcoming segment of games, the slot of games, is the whole shooting match? Like, if we go in the tank, we're screwed for the year.
We're in deep shambles, yes. But to be honest with you, there's... In the opposite way, obviously the score will be tight when we do have a good weekend. But I think with just all of the, momentum that these guys have built with a +3 lead, Milli Vanilli, you've got Al's brother firing up every bot known to mankind. I mean, Vladimir Putin himself is probably on one of these accounts.
He shuts you down. Now you got JP against you. JP could have waited to play that. We're not, like, Al's brother's intro is not even allowing you to finish a thought, Luke. Did you ever see yourself living this existence?
Again, I just think it's going to be a very hard crash, and I think it happens tonight. I mean, tomorrow. I think this weekend could be, like, you look at the slate of games, and I think that one team, and we'll see where the picks land, but I just have this weird feeling that someone's going to go undefeated. Might be the greatest weekend of all time in the history of OverDrive picks.
Yeah, well, this would be it, Al's brother. And the books, FanDuel's got us heavily favored to do that. Like, when it comes to an immaculate week, you and I have been right on the precipice of it multiple times. But we've got a 3-pack. We got a game on Friday. Like, this is a bonanza, right? This is a massive weekend for everybody involved.
Well, we got, 8 games that we're picking this week? Like, we could be up by 11. By the end of this, if we get that immaculate week cooking. And based on what these bozos apparently are prioritizing, some stupid songs here, I feel good about it, Hazy.
I do too.
Real good.
Isn't this, like, these guys play for, that's a Carolina vibe. That's a Matt Patricia's your coach vibe. Worried about songs and hoodies. You and I, we're in the trenches with Andy Reid.
We're picking winners.
Belichick. That's how we operate.
That's right.
All right. You guys want to get to the games here? Because the spreads, they're pretty wild, man. And you guys are on the board first, kicking off at 12:30 p.m. Lions laying 9.5 at home against the Chicago Bears.
9.5?
9.5. That's the latest spread, according to Commissioner Doogie. 9.5 on FanDuel.
Partsy, go ahead, man. This one is all your gut instinct. We originated gut instinct, so go ahead and fire away with this one.
So I'll be honest. I think all the games, not just this one. I now say it's about their picks as well this week, including the Friday. Every one of these games is going to be wildly, wildly tough. Partsy, I'm a bit torn on this thing, but my gut leans heavily to take the points. Here's why I say that. First and foremost, it's a division game. Okay? How many times have we seen in the history of the NFL a great team versus a not-so-great team in the division, and they play them tough because they know them very well? Secondly, the Bears, their record is not that indicative of how they played this year. You look at the Hail Mary, probably should have won that game. You look at last week, they go to overtime. Now they had a great comeback there. You look at the field goal the week before, should have won that game. I'm not saying they're a great team, but 9.5 and on a short week, I lean heavily to take the points. It was 10.5. That would have made me a lot happier. And you can come over the top here if you'd like, but my next thing here is we can get jammed. We get jammed here. If the Lions get up quickly early, this thing becomes a 50-point win for Detroit.
Well, that's what the only point I was going to counterpoint I was going to bring up, Parts, is I liked what you said about Chicago, but sometimes you got to also look at what Detroit does, and they've been absolutely demoing teams, and it really doesn't matter who the opponent is. So that I like your pick. I like the reasoning behind it, but we never really got to Detroit because they literally club teams over the head every Sunday.
They do.
I'm
Is that locked in?
It's not.
Are you locking that in? Where are we at?
Great.
There's a lot of indecision here. This is a team that's seeing
Parts,
ghosts,
if that's
man.
what we invented gut instinct, Parts, and if that's
Skittish.
your gut instinct, go with it.
You guys are skittish.
I lied. We're going with Detroit. We're taking Detroit.
Wow.
Going with the Lions. Wow. I listen. I was surprised. I was going to say that feels like a team that's not seeing the board very clearly right now. It's a lot of points, though, Al's brother. I don't mind getting 9.5. It's it's a Thanksgiving short week within the division. History would suggest those games lean towards taking the points. Caleb Williams needs to snap out of it. The guy's got to throw a touchdown. Like, how about throwing a touchdown this week? That would be nice.
Would be nice.
Okay, you're
Would be
locking
nice.
in the Lions. To clarify, minus 9.5.
I think to be honest, 10.5 I would have thought about more, but because that's what it originally was.
It was.
9.5 here. The thing that scares me is Chicago's run defense is not good. They're not good. The short week, anything can happen, but Chicago's rush defense, I believe, has given up 4.8, which is somewhere in like the bottom 10 of the NFL. That's where I would go.
Okay.
I think we got to take the points, but I don't feel great about it, Parts.
All right. Well, where
It's
you
worth
at?
noting, David Montgomery questionable to play tomorrow, by the way, Lukey. Don't know if you saw
He
that
was a
on the
full
injury report.
participant in practice today.
Okay.
You dummy.
Yeah, still questionable.
What are you, a dummy?
They might be
Yeah.
load managing,
You don't think
man.
we look at those things?
They could be load
He
managing.
was a full participant in practice.
All right.
Full.
All right.
SP.
All right,
Get
we'll
out of
see.
here.
What's the pick
We'll
here?
see.
What are we doing?
We're taking Detroit. We're taking Detroit.
You're laying the points. Detroit 9.5. Wow, what a
Yes.
world we live in, man. Detroit on Thanksgiving laying 9.5. Think about how crazy that would have been 5 years ago.
I can tell by the way you're talking, Hayes, you would have made the exact same selection.
I would have leaned Detroit. I feel like this might be – it feels like every week is a statement game for them in that offense. And even if Montgomery doesn't play – St. Brown being out is significant. But if Montgomery's not out, Gibbs is going to run for like 180 tomorrow. And he'll catch – he'll have 10 catches out of the back. He's a stud, that Gibbs. Like, he can
good.
be his own guy in the
The
backfield.
short week, too, should jam up Caleb Williams more than it will ever jam up Jared Goff. So
Right.
that
Okay.
plays into it.
All right. I would lean Detroit, but I don't mind that level of points. I don't mind getting 9.5. It screams backdoor greasy.
For a defense as good as Chicago has been, that is not bad. Like, to get 9.5 points, that's pretty good. And you look at the last 2 weeks, like, they've actually played better. Caleb Williams has played better. They should have beat your Packers. Like, that should have happened 2 weeks ago. And
That's
they took
right.
Minnesota to overtime and only lost by a field goal. So they've kept things close, and those are divisional games, which is exactly what this is. Divisional games are always tough. It's a short week,
Yep.
2 good teams. I think they could cover this 9.5. I
like
really think it's possible. I do.
could see Chicago 10-0 early, and then Detroit comes back and wins by a touchdown, but we cover. I love it. All right, moving
But I'm
to the
not
afternoon.
mistaken, Detroit also lost to Chicago last year, and they're in the same predicament. Detroit, good team, Chicago, bad team, and they came through the dub.
I love where your head's at, House brother. I love where it's at. All right, leading into the afternoon, Cowboys 3.5, laying 3.5 points at home against the New York Giants. This one is a disgusting football game.
Don't
Tremendous
even want to watch
information.
it. Don't even want to watch it.
Tremendous information. What type of information can you bring to the table, House brother?
Yeah, I mean, like death taxes, Dallas on Thanksgiving. It's a yearly tradition like no other, and they do have the best Thanksgiving record in NFL history. 33, 22-1, and 2-0 against the New York Giants on Thanksgiving, outscoring their teams 58-23. But what I love here, Hazy B, is I love the coaching matchup because McCarthy has stuffed Daboll in a locker the entire time those two have been in the NFC
what an accomplishment.
least.
What an accomplishment that is.
I'm just saying, 5-0. The Cowboys are 5-0 with an 18.4 margin between the two. They won by 18-plus points on average in those games. I like what Cooper Rush looked like last week. I think maybe they figured something out offensively. It's a terrible defense that they got in New York, and it's a secondary that's actually getting healthier for the Cowboys. Deron Bland was a full participant in practice. I believe you're going to end up getting Diggs as well. Micah Parsons is back, so they should be able to stop whatever the heck Drew Lock is going to be able to do offensively.
Maybe
Drew
Drew Lock is lights out, bro. You don't know if Drew
I
Lock's
highly
lights
doubt
out.
it.
Yeah.
I highly
It's a
doubt
lock
that,
he's
O-Dog.
not. That's what's a
Yeah.
lock, is that he won't.
Exactly. I can't believe I'm saying this because the Cowboys have yet to win a game on home turf this year, which is slightly concerning. But I'm willing to lay the points here on the Cowboys in the 3.5. It'll be a Thanksgiving miracle in Jerry World, Hazy B.
It is crazy that the Cowboys are laying points to anybody on earth. Yet if there was a team...
Lock it then, boys. Lock it.
Listen, if there was a team you'd do it against, be the Giants. Because as much as I think the Cowboys are looking at McCarthy thinking, I don't know what this guy's about, I think the Giants have quit on Daboll. I think the Giants are an absolute disaster of an operation right now. And I recall, this is where I look at how roles reverse over the course of a season, how you trust the process. We rope-a-dope these guys earlier in the year, gave them a chance, gave them an opportunity to be cocky, knowing that we were going to spin this around and take off. And I remember being in a hotel room in Montreal, Quebec, Monday night, Giants, Cowboys. Spread was 5.5. We laid the points. The Cowboys won by 5. They missed. But they won't miss this time because we're in a better place, and the Cowboys are in a better place. We're locking it in. Dallas minus 3.5. I love it.
There we go.
I love that bet.
We're 2-0. We get the line
Absolutely.
pick. This might be the worst pick. I'm not joking. The idea that you would give Dallas 3.5 points is utter insanity. These guys know nothing about football.
It's the Giants,
it
though.
disgusts me that I'm even on this phone.
It's the
disgusts me that
Giants.
down
I'm
3
disgusted
points
as
to
well.
people.
These guys are boneheads.
These guys are absolute
Take
scumbags.
advantage of these boneheads. That's our new
Yes.
slogan.
All right. Well,
Also, Drew Lock is going to throw for 330.
I know he is, dude.
No.
why hasn't he been playing all year then? They paid him 5.5 or whatever to sit
Daniel
on the bench.
Jones owed money, and why they didn't start last week was because in Drew Lock's contract there was a bonus structure which he would have theoretically hit more money. They're jamming the guy on his bonuses. That's why he didn't play last week. End of story. You guys don't know the details.
I love
We're
that.
on to the final game. Let's go. I can't
Here's the thing,
wait.
before I get to that, I love that detail because now Drew Lock hates the Giants more than Malik Neighbors does. He hates them because they're screwing him out of money. It's like a Rowdy Tellez scenario.
He hates Geppetto bot farmers more than everybody. I know the guy.
Okay.
Anyways, on to the next one.
Next one. Now, this is a Doogie special layup. If you guys jam yourself here, this means you should quit, and I need to face
Doogie
two different
special
people.
layup?
Packers laying 2.5 at Lambeau under the lights, cold, Wisconsin. Where's your head at? Green
What
Bay
is
laying
it, 2.5 or 3.5?
3.5 against Miami.
I'll be honest with you. There's TG, and then there's your gut instinct. There's your TI, then there's your GI.
Yep.
Yeah, you think Green Bay. But I sit here and say, okay, so what? It's cold. It's not supposed to snow. It's not supposed to be windy. Okay? Like, I don't really think that's that big of an effect. Tua has been a machine since coming back. They've scored 27 against the Bills. They then come out that smack the Rams, absolutely smack them, smack the Raiders, smack the Patriots, and their playoff hopes are on the line.
Do it. Take the points.
Take them, Luke. Take them.
Partsy, first off, let's ignore the Geppetto bots.
I know.
Where are you at, Partsy?
We already discussed it. Go ahead and hammer our selection. We came to that decision together.
The Finns are not frauds. They're covering 3.5.
I love it.
I love it.
They have fallen in the trap.
We are going to shock the world with that pick. We're going to shock the world with that
Al's
pick.
brother,
It's the pick of the year.
everything
It
is
is.
everything is flipped. It's bizarre world. Luke is what you were 6 weeks ago. Like Luke has turned. Now look at us sitting here saying you're going to give us the team playing against the Dolphins. If it's anything close to 0 degrees, Tua will be a disaster. He
Not
can't
anymore.
do it.
Not anymore.
Yes.
Not anymore.
Yes, more. Yes, more.
Guys, we're talking about Tua Tagovailoa, who is 0-6 when the temperature dips below 46 degrees Fahrenheit. It is going to be 31 degrees Fahrenheit tomorrow night at Lambeau.
I love it.
Warm.
Dude, he's
How do
from
you
Hawaii, played at Alabama, plays in Miami. He can't throw the ball in the cold. He throws ducks. He can't handle it. He looks uncomfortable. Mike McDaniel's even worse. McDaniel will be in a heat bubble tomorrow. No one's playing for that guy.
Dude,
Nobody's playing for McDaniel
McDaniel on a
tomorrow.
short week?
Oh.
McDaniel short week against Matt
I
LaFleur.
love the
Are you
Packers
kidding me?
tomorrow. I love Green Bay. Al's brother, immaculate. I feel immaculate after listening to these guys.
Struddy, does anything stick out of
Flip it,
this selection? Struddy, does
Flip it,
anything
Doogie.
stick out?
Flip it.
I feel like there's a lot of people that are questioning they're unsure what they're trying to do right now. And I don't agree with all the picks, but we got to pick somebody. But that Dolphins pick, sorry, that's a tough one to swallow,
Thank you,
guys.
Strud.
It's brutal.
See, Struddy knows what's
McDaniel-
up.
McDaniels has never won on a
let's
Thursday,
talk about
by the way.
Miami's
That's a
defense,
fact.
shall we?
Go
Let's
ahead.
talk about Miami's defense.
Please do.
First and foremost, they're giving up, ninth in the league. They're giving up 106.9 yards per carry. That's the first thing that Jordan Love's and Matt LaFleur is going to try and do, run the football. Okay, Calais Campbell's he's an old head in there. He's got the boys rumbling. The defense has been very solid. Okay, now we keep going. Miami, as far as yards per game given up, you're looking at 304. Best, I think that's seventh in the league. Seventh in the league right now. So I'm laughing. Yards throwing, they're giving up 197. Again, top 10. So you sit here and you say Jordan Love, who is a turnover machine. And by the way, in that Niners game, when he just didn't need to because they had a bell cow in Josh Jacobs, he should have thrown 3 picks, dropped brutal interceptions. The guy is an interception machine right now. He's playing out of his mind in some ways, and he throws picks. We're going to stop the run. They're going to get a Jordan Love turnover, and their lives are on the line. They're trying to make the playoffs. The next thing I'll say, you're talking about Tua. Guys like you, Al's brother, you look at cold weather. I look at how the offense is running. The young Tua from a couple years ago was slinging it to Tyreek Hill down the field, a little tougher in cold weather games. The new Tua, you know what he does? Methodically moves down the field by running the football and throwing to Jonnu Smith. You know who loves cold weather games? Tight ends. Jonnu Smith's going to rip. Tyreek will probably break a big one. Jordan Love's going to throw 2 picks. I like Miami to straight up win. How about that, boys?
Asinine.
How about that?
Asinine. And you know Jacobs is going to run right down their throat tomorrow night. You
No,
talk about tight ends.
I don't think so.
Watch Tucker Kraft tomorrow night. I guarantee you he ends up in the end zone. I guarantee it. And Xavier McKinney leading the league in picks. Tua is primed to throw a duck across the middle because he can't throw it down the field. You know it's coming, AB. And Jordan Love hasn't been great. But who has Miami played against? They played the Patriots and the Raiders. Matt Stafford was awful that night. When they play good teams, they lose.
And you think Jordan Love's going to be good?
I think he'll be exceptional tomorrow.
It's 3.5. You're forgetting. It's 3.5.
3.5, man. I think they win by a touchdown.
That's enough.
I think they win by a touchdown. I love it.
You know what I
You
think?
do.
I think it's
I
a
can't
tie
believe
game
these guys
tomorrow
took it.
night, and you guys have the Raiders versus Kansas City, and with the amount of points there, you're going to pick Antonio Pierce and the Raiders, and Patty Mahomes is going to absolutely jam you.
I don't
and we're
know,
going to
man.
be +1 heading to Sunday. I'll be in studio tomorrow, boys. I can't wait.
I can't
I'm
wait.
fired up.
wait.
Lock it
Can't
in,
wait.
Dewey. Lock it in, and don't let them make you delete the tape. Do not. They're going to call you.
Doogie's
This is what's
a
going to happen.
scumbag.
This is what's going to happen. We're going to hit a break. Luke and O are going to FaceTime Doogie and say, delete all that, and pretend it didn't happen. And they're going to
Hang
try
on
to
a
flip
sec,
the
just
picks.
1 sec. Partsy, we have one shot right now to get out of the Dolphins pack, or are we just going to sack up and go with it? We're going with it, right?
Partsy, play the song. My answer to that is play the greatest song I've ever heard.
Listen
No,
to you
I
two.
can't do it. I
Simon
can't do
Cowell
it.
and Randy Jackson.
boy.
That's who
Tua
you two are.
Tagovailoa is my guy. Let's go, Finns.
I love
Stay
it.
loud,
Let's
stay
go
proud.
Fins, baby.
Stay loud and stay proud. They're frauds, aren't they, AB?
The Finns
and Owen
are
Wilson.
frauds.
I love
Incredible.
where we're at. All right, boys. Enjoy yourselves tomorrow. More picks tomorrow afternoon. We'll see you guys then.
Absolutely,
Cheers, boys.
fellas.
There it is. Al's brother and Luke Willson. What a ride. The picks are in for 3 games tomorrow. We'll come back with our best bets and tee up the Leaf game one more time. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. Joey tweeting in saying, I'm starting to see the light. O-Dog and Luke are the real frauds.
Dude, we're getting crushed on that pick.
Yeah.
But wait till we come out on top. We're
All
going
right.
to show the world. This is our week to do it.
Listen, you got to do it, man. Al's brother put his neck on the line taking the Browns, and it worked out, right? Sometimes you got to
pick.
make tough calls. Great pick. Today's
Yeah.
best bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Doubling back on yesterday, Buffalo. I'm on the Sabres tonight at home against the Wild. Tonight's the game. I love them tonight. I like the
Boy, way to circle back on that.
Got to
baby.
circle back. I hope you hammered it yesterday. Blues on the puck line against New Jersey, still on it, and Leafs on the puck line tonight. Plus 1.5, paying plus 460 that parlay. Best bets powered by FanDuel. Live same-game parlays are now available for every NHL game on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly. 19 plus, physically located in Ontario. All right, Struddy. Happy Thanksgiving to your wife, right? All the Americans
Yeah,
out there
thank
tomorrow.
You got to
And-
make it special for her.
Got to make it special. Make sure she knows it's not just about football, right? She's got to know that. I'm sure you'll make it a big day for her.
Oh, big Taco Thursday.
Taco, always thankful she found you. I'm sure she's always thankful. Great stuff, buddy. Thank you for doing this. We
See
appreciate
you
it.
guys soon.
There he is, Jason Strudwick. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in today. TV, radio, podcast, web, we appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at...
Tua, you're my man. 4 p.m.
We'll chat then.